organization and the type of organization that you are participating from. It's great to see such a wide variety of folks interested in this session. Thank you all for attending. And it's wonderful to see such a broad location range for our participants today. I have a feeling that a lot of that is can be credited to the format of the conference. And I, for one, am very grateful for the Canvas users group moving to virtual so we can include so many more people. My name is Deb Mader. I am the Director of Digital Education and Instructional Design at Bryan College of Health Sciences in Lincoln, Nebraska. Welcome to this session, Quizzes Next, New Quizzes, Quiz Tool, I'm So Confused, Help. I'm sure we're all familiar with the traditional quizzing and surveying tool in Canvas. This tool's official name is Classic Quizzes. We are all familiar with how to build multiple choice, essay, true, false, and other question types. About 2 years ago, Canvas launched a different quiz tool for testing called Quizzes Next. If any of you tested that tool, you probably ran into some frustrations pretty quickly. Because of those frequent frustrations experienced by Canvas users, Canvas stopped promoting Quizzes Next and abandoned the tool. Recognizing the limitations of classic quizzes, however, Canvas took their learning from the Quizzes Next tool and immediately launched a new quiz development process, which led them to a tool they've titled New Quizzes. The purpose of this session is to introduce you to New Quizzes. We're going to compare the features of New Quizzes to classic quizzes and point out some of the potential pain points that I hope Canvas addresses in the near future. I do realize that this session is scheduled for 30 minutes, so I'm going to go through these slides pretty quickly in hopes that we'll have time for questions at the end. However, if we miss the opportunity for me to answer your questions, I will provide these slides and my contact information. Feel free to contact me if questions remain at the end of our time together. Now let's get started. If you're an admin, a techie, or just like to know how things in Canvas work, this slide will be especially interesting to you. The Canvas New Quizzes tool actually lives outside of Canvas. It's connected to Canvas through an LTI integration. Depending on how you access the New Quizzes tool, the LTI connection is automatically enabled. So even though the tool is an integration, faculty, instructors, teachers, admins, designers, all of those people who we're going to call users throughout this presentation, those users can interact with the tool as if it actually was housed or was native to Canvas. This means that users are able to create quizzes from within Canvas rather than going to a third-party app. Users do not need to have any additional accounts or logins, and admins do not have to enable anything. When launching a new quiz using the Plus Quizzes button, users will be asked to choose Classic Quizzes or New Quizzes. Selecting the New Quizzes option will launch the New Quizzes tool for users from within Canvas. New quizzes can also be created in a different manner in the modules area of a Canvas course, but it takes a few more steps, and we'll cover how to do that a little bit later. Before we take a look at the tool itself, though, I want to point out a few things that are different for the New Quizzes tool as compared to Classic Quizzes. First of all, once you've created a new quiz, it appears as an assignment rather than a quiz. So that takes a little bit of adjustment for users that are working within the course, because you can't find it in the quiz tab. You find it in the assignments tab. Also, when you're integrating the new quiz into the modules, you have to look for it as an assignment. Users have the ability to duplicate a quiz within the same course. So in our instance, in higher ed, we may have students who need to take exams or quizzes at differing times based on accommodations that may need to be provided. This feature allows us to duplicate the quiz within the course rather than having to do the export-import process like we had to with the Classic Quizzes tool. Users also have the option to set a quiz worth 0 points. For our organization, that works well because we can do things like pre and post types of quizzes just to gauge the student learning without it having an impact to the final grade. Users also have the option to have different question types, which we will go over a little bit later, and there are additional setting options that we won't have time to go through today, but I wanted to call it out for you so that you knew that that existed. Now we're going to get into actually creating a quiz, and I'm going to do a dual screen process for you, so hopefully you can still see the slides and my actual test Canvas instance. New quizzes, as I said, can be created in one of two ways. Users can access new quizzes using the Quizzes tab of a course and to click this blue plus quiz button in the top right corner. As you can see, when I launch that, I'm offered the option to start in classic quizzes or new quizzes. This makes it very easy for users to be able to select new quizzes and then start building the quiz. If you want to use new quizzes exclusively, you can check this box that will allow Canvas to remember that that's your choice for that particular course. I'm going to cancel out of this window for right now because I want to show you one other way to initiate a new quiz. Many of our faculty and users are used to creating pages and assignments and quizzes from the modules page. From here, you can launch a new quiz by clicking the plus item button in the module. Again, this is an assignment because it's an LTI integration rather than a classic quiz. So I want to make sure that this drop-down menu is set to assignment, not to quizzes. I will create a new assignment, give it a new name, and then add the item. You'll see that it shows up as the assignment icon versus the quizzing icon. To remedy that, I have to open the new quiz assignment type, edit it, then change the submission type to an external tool. Remember, we talked about how new quizzes is an LTI integration, and this is how you connect those two pieces within Canvas. I'm going to find the external tool and scroll down through the list until I find Quizzes 2. Select that option, and then I'm going to save the assignment. And you'll see that it launches me into the building option for the new quizzes tool. So you can launch or create a new quiz either way. Once you're in the building tool for new quizzes, you'll want to make sure that your build tab is selected. Do you remember a few slides ago I talked about the additional settings that Canvas has available in this tool? That is accessed using this settings tab. There's a great amount of reports and the ability to moderate. Like I said, we're not going to have time to get into those today, but please take some time to investigate those and read through the Canvas release notes about that information. So back to the Build tab. Once I am in this screen, all I have to do to create a new quiz is select this blue plus button. Once I do that, it gives me the option of identifying which type of question I want to create. We'll go over the new type shortly. But once I create that type of question, it gives me all of the fields to fill out. We have the question title, that's very much like in classic quizzes where it gave the question number. The question stem is where you actually type the question, and then you identify the appropriate answers, adding any distractors and all of those types of options that you normally would when creating a quiz. Now that we've covered the question types, need to go back a slide. There we go. What question types are available? The list on the left shows the types of questions that continue to be the same for new quizzes. These question types are the same question types that we're all used to in the classic quizzes tool. The new question types are in the list on the right of the screen. We're going to explore these together. The first new question type that I'd like to cover is ordering. Ordering questions are exactly what we expect. Students need to drag and drop the question answers in the order from the top to the bottom of the screen. Users need to take care to make sure that students know that the order is from the top to the bottom of the screen. If students answer from the bottom to the top, Canvas will count the answer as incorrect. The second type of question that we're going to discuss is the hotspot. This is a long-awaited question type for those of us in the healthcare education field. So there may be others of you who are excited about this option as well. The hotspot question allows the user to select a single rectangular portion of an image for the answer. The student's click is their answer. So for instance, on this question, the student is asked to click on the blue portion of the image. So if I were to click down in this section of the image, I would get the answer correct. However, if I click on the edge over here where it's a little bit more purple, or up here where it's a little more light blue, that answer would be counted as incorrect. So users need to make sure that their image has a specific rectangular portion of the image that is well defined. Otherwise, the students may be counted incorrect for an answer that is on the border of the correct and incorrect range. We'll go through a little bit of an example of this later, but I do want to point out that Canvas does record a little bullseye icon to indicate the student's clicks so they know exactly where they clicked before they submit their answer. The third question type we'll discuss is categorization. Some users like to call this drag and drop. In this example, students are asked to drag and drop these possible answers into one of the correct categories at the top. Users do have the ability to add distractors to the possible answer fields that do not belong in either of these categories. If users choose to type this type of distractor in the possible answer section, care needs to be taken in the wording of the question stem so that students do not believe that all of the answers need to be included in each category. Finally, the stimulus or passage question type allows you to give students initial information for a group of questions. Then the student can still see the information while they answer all of the questions associated with that information. In this example, the initial information is displayed on the left. In this example, students are asked to view a video about Shirley Temple and then answer 2 questions about the video. These questions are displayed on the right side of the screen. This allows the user to create a group of questions about the initially displayed information. So if I had more than 2 questions here and I were to scroll through them, the information on the left would stay static on the screen. So the student could view all of this as they scroll through the questions. Now that we've covered the question types, I want to cover just a few features that most users will want to make sure to use. One of those features is the ability to view the quiz like a student. New Quizzes allows the user to click a preview button in the build screen, just like the user could do in classic quizzes. I'm going to switch to the dual screen again and show you how that works. The example quiz, there it is. The example quiz that I built to show the sample questions, I can click this preview button. And I want to call out specifically that in this preview, you can see that there's a pink banner across the screen. This is very much like the Act as User option that Canvas admins have. You have to remember that you are viewing this as a student, and if you click out of this preview window to another tab, Canvas is still going to think that you're acting as a user, and you won't have the ability to continue working in that tab as a faculty or another user type. So you'll just need to make sure that when you're done previewing the quiz, that you click this exit preview button. Now, very quickly, I want to show you all of those question types in real time. So this is the ordering question. I need to put the numbers in order, and you'll see that all I do is just drag and drop. The hotspot question, I was supposed to click on the blue section, and I mentioned that there is a bullseye that shows up, and you can see that as an example there. The categorization, you click these items and drag and drop, and you'll notice that it doesn't matter whether I click on the dots on the item or if I click on the word. As long as I click, click and hold, I'm able to drag and drop. And here is that stimulus question example. You'll see the information that I have on the left stays static, and I need to fill in the information on the right. And then I can submit. Now it will give me a warning issue that students have to agree that they're ready to submit, so they can't accidentally submit the exam. Now you can see that I've submitted it, and it's auto grading, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm going to exit this preview so we can continue in the presentation. I do want to call out that New Quizzes isn't perfect. There are some known issues that Canvas is working on, but in all transparency, I would be neglectful if I didn't call them out for you as current issues with the product. The issues are listed on this page, but I specifically want to call out a few of the bullet points. In bullet point 1, you'll notice that New Quizzes does not track the total points on the quiz as the quiz is created. So in classic quizzes, we're used to indicating how many points each question is worth. And at the end of the quiz, when I click save, Canvas tells me how many points it is, or if the points that, if I said that the quiz was going to be worth 20 points in the settings when I started, and I ended up putting in 21 questions, Canvas doesn't call out that there's that discrepancy. So users need to make sure that they're tracking the number of points to make sure that all of that jives. You don't want to inadvertently give students 100 points for an exam that has 2 questions. In bullet point 5, I want to call out that ungraded quizzes do have an indicator in the speed grader view of the quiz, but only within each individual quiz, not the drop-down menu. So I'm going to show you that when I go to the gradebook. I can see that this example student needs to have, or has taken the quiz, but it's recorded 0 points. So I'm going to go into Speed Grader and take a look at this. Make this full screen so you can see. You'll notice that it gives me the drop-down menu, and it shows that the experiment student appears to be graded because it has that green check mark, but we know I had that free answer choice question. So it's not showing me here that that free answer choice, that open-ended question, needs to be graded. So I'm going to go into that specific student, and you'll see there's a message here at the top telling me that question 4 needs to be answered. So I will scroll down, and you can see in question 4, there's that free answer one that I need to grade. So I need to give that a point. You'll also notice that this entire quiz was worth 5 points, but it didn't show up over here in the assessment of the point total. That's because I did not track the number of points that I was assigning to this quiz. That relates back to bullet point 1. So I would need to have gone back into the assignment settings and remedied that. Going back to the known issues, bullet point 6, essay questions that need to be graded, like I showed you, do not appear in the to-do list for faculty either. So there's really no indicator that there are essay questions to grade other than going into SpeedGrader and looking at each individual exam. So you have to really keep track of what exams have those open-ended questions that you need to take care of. Finally, in the known issues, I want to point out bullet point 8, that the speed grader page must be refreshed in order to update the student point totals. So you notice that I added points for that free answer question down here. But if I go back to my quiz, oh, where did it go? Where's my, there we go. If I go back to my quiz, it doesn't update here. So I have to refresh the page in order for that to show up here. So it shows now that I have, oh, it's telling me that question 4 is not graded. Let's try that again. It's still showing me that. Yesterday that worked. Sorry about that, everyone. I'll have to investigate that. But I do know that in order for the grade here to show up, that I need to refresh this to have it display in the grade book. Otherwise, it won't save it. Let's keep moving. There are some important dates that I want to call out for you. Canvas has released the dates at which time new quizzes will be phased in and classic quizzes will be phased out. So users will want to pay attention to these dates and watch the Canvas release notes for further updates. You'll notice that Canvas is still allowing classic quizzes to be created, but eventually you won't be able to create classic quizzes anymore, but you will be able to edit them, and then eventually you will lose the ability to edit the classic quizzes. Our users do have some experience working in new quizzes, and this has resulted in a few tips for using the tool. First of all, we want to make sure that you are intentional about grading. As we've talked about, Canvas won't notify you when you have a submission to grade in this. So you're going to need to keep track of what quizzes are in classic quiz form and what quizzes are in the new quizzes form. That way, you can be timely about the grading, especially if you have a due date window versus a static time that items are due. You'll want to create a process to frequently check for new quizzes to grade, especially if you allow for late submissions, because like I said, in the to-do list and in SpeedGrader, you really have no great indicator as to what needs to be graded. And we have recommended to our users that at this time, to only use new quizzes when you want to use one of those specific new question types that are not available in classic quizzes. Hopefully that will give Canvas some time to figure out some of these known issues. I wanted to provide you with the links to the resources that I used to create the presentation. These are links that are direct to Canvas community, so they should be updated on a regular basis by the folks at Canvas to provide us the most up-to-date information. I want to thank you for joining me today, and to contact me if you've got any questions. I do know that we've had some questions in the chat. So I will start going through those as best I can. Jordan, if you happen to see any that you think I really need to call out because you've been doing a great job of monitoring the chat for me, I would appreciate you letting me know those. Or if someone just wants to unmute and chime in, I would be happy to answer as many questions as I can in the time we have left.